What's up, everybody? How we doing today? I'm back. This is break number 708BD. This is a 8-box break of Panini Donruss baseball. Welcome to everybody. Here we go. Box number 1. So I was at the Dallas Card Show over the weekend. What a great show, guys. Unbelievable. A lot of people. Nice and busy for 4th of July weekend. It was nice to see. But now I'm back. Gonna have some fun. Starting with the 8-box Donruss break. Here we go, my friends. Box number 1. Good luck, everybody. That is a foil of Keldon Lindsay for the Dodgers. There's Dylan Head. Chipper Jones. We got Kumar Rocker on the Marvels. We have our first numbered card. That's Blake Burke for Milwaukee. That is 194 out of 199. Braylon Payne on the Optichrome. Jim Rice. Big Poppy on the Bomb Squad. That is Sunburst of Jimmy Rollins for Philadelphia. Franklin Arias, we got our first auto. That's going to the Mets. That is Jet Williams on the Optichrome auto. Optic auto. What's up, Cards and Comics? How you doing, buddy? That is a green Colt Keith. Green Colt Keith. That is numbered to 149. 121 of 149. Brock Wilken on the acetate for Milwaukee. Joe Morgan. Well, I appreciate you, bud. I appreciate you. I'm glad to be back. Glad I didn't get stuck in that weather in Texas. There's Pudge Rodriguez for Texas on the foil. Marcelo Mayer red. Red is 36 of 99. We got our redemption. This is a base, not numbered. Number 104. Card number 104. That is David Shields. David Shields. I'll have to look that one up to see what team that is. I want to say it's Seattle or Tampa Bay, but I'm not sure. Mike Mussina. David Ortiz, Big Pape. Jacob Mizrowski on the Sunburst. Braylon Doty on the for Cleveland. Alright, this is the base rated prospect. Number 104, David Shields. Oh, Kansas City. This one's going to KC. David Shields, Kansas City. All right, back at it. Here we go. That's Burke Campaneris. That's A-Rod for Texas on the bomb squad. 188 out of 199. There is Prince Fielder going to Milwaukee. That one is 5 of 250. Lou Gehrig on the Optichrome. Sammy Sosa. There is Vance Honeycutt for Baltimore. What's up, John? How are you today, bud? Prince Fielder. That is Jake Bloss for Toronto on the Optichrome. Jacob Wilson, Oakland. Jordan Lawler with the Diamondbacks. That is Bobby Miller on the blue. That is 134 of 149 for the Dodgers. Bryce Eldridge. Kumar Rocker for Texas. That is a green sunburst of Charlie Condon for Colorado. That is Kyle Teal for the White Sox. Kyle Teal. You got Atlanta, Cam Caminetti. Ryan Braun for Milwaukee. Paul Skeens Unleashed. Sunburst of Jeff Bagwell. We got John Smoltz to 39 on the Black Lasers. Black Lasers to 39. 38 of 39. Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets. We got greetings from LA. That is Dalton Rushing for the Dodgers. Edgar Martinez. Aaron Judge. That is Ozzie Smith on the foil. Jesus Made on the orange to 199, I believe. Yeah, 35 of 199. That is for the Milwaukee Brewers. Cliff Lee for the Phillies. We got Jackson Chourio for Milwaukee. Craig Biggio for Houston. That is 235 out of 250. Roman Anthony for Boston. Jace Jung on the Jersey King. That is for Detroit. And this one is not numbered. That was box number 1, my friends. Box number 1. Box number 2. All right, box number 2. Let's see if we can get another 1 of 1. All right, box number 2. Here we go. That is Pudge Rodriguez, green to 149. Yes, 11 out of 149. There is Christian Campbell for the Red Sox on the acetate. Travis Bazzana on the Marvels. That is Pee Wee Reese for the Brooklyn Dodgers. David Ortiz for the Red Sox on the Optichrome. Reggie Jackson. Adam Wainwright, Milestone. That is green, Mike Schmidt Green, Mike Schmidt, 11 out of 199. 11 of 199. Bryce Eldridge for the Giants. There's Roger Clemens. Spencer Jones on the green, sunburst for the Yankees. Foil of Kyle DeBarge for Minnesota. Cam Caminetti for the Braves. Hurston Waldrop for the Braves. Got Sebastian Walcott for Texas. We got a foil of Jim Cott for the Twins. That is Ryan Clifford, red. Red, 94 of 99. We got our next auto. That is Henry Bolt. Henry Bolt for the Oakland Athletics. This one is not numbered. Jackson Chourio. Unleashed of Braylon Payne for Milwaukee. Got a purple of Jake Bloss for Toronto. That's 40 out of 99. Braylon Doty for Cleveland. That is James Wood for Washington. Charlie Condon on the Marvels. That is a purple Marvel to 199. 27 of 199. We have a blue. That is Brody Brecht for Colorado. That is 89 of 149. Tim Hudson on the Optichrome. Aaron Judge, Cal Ripken. That's Jusar Gonzalez for the Giants. Dylan Head for Miami. Bobby Miller for the Dodgers. Aaron Judge on the Bomb Squad. Griff O'Farrell for the Baltimore Orioles. This one is to 250. 77 of 250. Nick Kurtz for Oakland on the Optichrome. Mariano Rivera. There's Jace Jung for Detroit. Sunburst, that is Jake Peavy. Jake Peavy for San Diego. Franklin Arias for Boston. Our next auto is Bryce Rainier for the Detroit Tigers. Bryce Rainier, this is a red auto. This one is numbered 23 out of 49. 23 out of 49. Slammin' Sammy Sosa. Mike Piazza. As a sunburst of Juan Marichal for the Giants. We got a pink to 79 of Manny Ramirez. 27 of 79 for the Red Sox. That is Billy Martin. Coming attraction, that is Carson Williams for Tampa Bay. We have a blue. The blue is 149 That's 121 of 149. That is Trey Morgan for the Tampa Bay Rays. Roman Anthony for Boston. Our next patch is Vance Honeycutt for Baltimore. That is not numbered. Greg Maddux for Atlanta. Aaron Judge. That is Luis Angel Acuna on the foil for the Mets. We got a orange. Augustin Ramirez for the Marlins. That is 28 of 199. That's box number 2. Box number 3. All right, box number 3. Here we go. Tony Perez on the Sunburst. We got a Cam Caminiti for Atlanta on the orange to 199, 128 of 199. Jimmy Rollins. That is greetings from Pittsburgh. That is Paul Skeens. Nice Paul Skeens there. Blue for Texas. That's Evan Carter. Evan Carter. 100 out of 149. August Ramirez for Miami. There is a 3-color patch of Bill Madlock. Bill Madlock on the 3. Matter of fact, it's 4-color patch for the Pirates. This one is not numbered. It's a nice patch for not being numbered. Nice job, Panini. It's about time. Jeff Bagwell for Houston. Jeff Bagwell. That is Darren Baker for Washington on the foil. Green, Will Clark. Green, Will Clark. That is 125 out of 149. Paul Molitor on the milestones. Yadi Molina for St. Louis. We got Leo Tavares Unleashed. There's David Ortiz on the foil. We got Hiro Irati for the Chicago White Sox. That is on the blue ice. Blue cracked ice, 3 of 15. Behind that is our auto. Redemption. Signature Series. Card number 62. That is Blake Dunn. Blake Dunn, card number 62 on the Signature Series. Blake Dunn is Cincinnati Reds. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to be wrong again. This one is also not numbered. Buster Posey. That is Chase Dollander for Colorado. Christian Moore for the Angels on the Sunburst. Trey Savage, Toronto. Tony Perez for the Red Sox. That is Rentaro Sasaki, 94 of 199 on the Unleashed. 49 of 99 on the Caleb Lomavita for Washington. Robin Ventura on the Optichrome. Junior Caminero. That's Gerangelo Sinchte. That's Willie Stargell. Dustin Pedroia, Optichrome. Michael Young, Texas. Luis Angel Acuna. That is Seaver King for Washington. 60 out of 199. Matt Shaw for the Cubs. Jim Thome for Philadelphia. That's Christian Campbell for the Red Sox on the green sunburst. There's Colin Hawk for the Mets. Bryce Matthews for Houston. Brooks Lee for Minnesota. Don Mattingly. That is Luke Kershaw for the Twins. Connor Griffin for the Pirates. Ricky Henderson. Cliff Lee for the Phillies. There's Jim Rice for the Red Sox. That one is 38 out of 250 red. Drew Gilbert, that is Optichrome for the Mets. Mike Piazza. James Tibbs for the Giants. There's Buster Posey on the sunburst for the Giants. Thatcher Hurd, that is for the Yankees. Our next auto is behind Thatcher Hurd. It is blue, rated rookie. That is for the Yankees as well. That is George Lombard Jr. George Lombard Jr. 7 out of 35. 7 of 35 on the auto. Nice prospect auto for the Yankees. Carlos Beltran for the Mets. That's to 79. 63 of 79. On the acetate, that's Leo Tavares for the Padres. And George Brett on the green sunburst for the Royals. We've had a couple of Phillies, nothing big yet. We've had a couple of Phillies. Box number 4. Next break is, I believe, in the store right now, and I believe it's Prism Football Megas. Prism Football Megas. Should be just about now. It should, nope, I believe they just about starting to end right now. So football is next. Prism Football. All right, this is box number 4, my friends. Box number 4. That is Catfish Hunter on the foil. Jairo Irati on the green, 58 of 149. Our next auto goes to the Milwaukee Brewers. That's Brock Wilken. Brock Wilken for the Brew Crew. Not numbered. There's Lou Gehrig. That is Aiden Miller for the Phillies. Aiden Miller for the Phillies. That is on the green Sunburst, not numbered. Green Sunburst, not numbered. There's Owen Cassay on the Sunburst for the Cubs. Ben Hess for the Yankees. Jake Bloss for Toronto. That is Christian Campbell for the Red Sox. 46 of 199. To 250, we got Mike Schmidt. 124 out of 250. Gyro on the Optichrome for the White Sox. Terry Francona. Marvels of Aiden Miller. Foil, that is Christian Campbell for the Red Sox. Luis Baez for Houston. There's Kobe Mayo for the Orioles. That is Kumar Rocker for Texas. Roger Clemens to 25. That's green, 6 out of 25 for the Red Sox. Bryce Cunningham for the Yankees. Johnny Bench. George Brett. There's Mike Piazza on the Sunburst. Nick Kurtz for Oakland. Our next auto is for the Yankees. That's Bryce Cunningham. Pitcher for the Yankees, not numbered. Orange. Tekoa Roby for St. Louis. That is numbered 176 of 199. Travis Bazzana, your number 1 pick in the draft for Cleveland. That is on the acetate. Christian Campbell on the base. Unleashed. Sunburst of Michael Young for Texas. There's Terry Francona green. That is 27 of 149. That goes to the Red Sox. Here is our case hit. That is Manny Ramirez on the hit list for Boston. Manny Ramirez on the hit list for Boston. Case hit. 64 of 199. That's Gerangelo for Seattle. Here is our patch. It is Rafael Palmeiro. 24 out of 99. 24 of 99 going to Texas. Tony Olivia, Minnesota. Brooks Robinson. Foil, that is Jack Leiter for Texas. On the pink lasers, that is Tim Hudson for the Oakland A's. Will Clark, Paul Skeens. That pink laser, Tim Hudson, number 2. 72 of 79. John Smoltz, that is Jim Leland for Detroit. Alex Rodriguez, Yadi Molina. Got a purple Starlin Caba. Purple Starlin Caba, 54 of 99. That is for Miami. Levi Sterling for Pittsburgh. Paul Skeens on the optic. Alex Rodriguez on the green sunburst. Vance Honeycutt for Baltimore. By the way, that Alex Rodriguez was for Texas. The Alex Rodriguez was for Texas, not New York, not Seattle. Seaver King for Washington. Will Wagner for Toronto. Alex Rodriguez for Texas. All right, that was box number 4. That's our first half. Box number 5. right, box number 5. Here we go. Jordan Lawler, David Ortiz. That is on the Bomb Squad, 164 of 199. That is Nick Kurtz for Oakland. Nick Kurtz, that one is 191 out of 199 green. Bert Campaneris on the Optichrome. Craig Biggio. That's Spencer Jones Unleashed. That is a sunburst of Don Mattingly. Carson Bench for the Mets. That's on the purple to 49. 12 of 49. Nolan Ryan. Coming attractions, Chase Burns for Cincinnati. Blue, Willie Stargell for Pittsburgh. Blue Willie Stargell, 144 out of 149. Kevin Alcantara for the Cubs. Our next patch is red. That is Walker Janke. That is Walker Janke, 85 out of 99 for Houston. Miguel Tejada, Ozzie Smith, sunburst of Jim Palmer. That is Enrique Bradfield Jr. for the Baltimore Orioles. Our next auto, Chase Dollander, solid pitcher for the Rockies. Chase Dollander, this one is not numbered. There's Bobby Miller, who's green on this one to 149. 21 of 49 for the Dodgers. Kendall George for the Dodgers on the acetate. Carson Bench for the Mets. Tony Olivia on the foil. Mike Mussina on the Optichrome. Nick York for Pittsburgh. Aiden Miller on the green Optichrome, green sunburst for the Phillies. That is Ryan Clifford for the Mets. This one is 9 out of 199. Charlie Condon for the Rockies. Ozzie Smith, St. Louis. We got Seaver King for Washington. Will Clark on the foil for Texas. We have Orange Colin Hawk for the Mets. That is 171 of 199. Prince Fielder, Charlie Condon, Colorado. That is Kendall George for the Dodgers. Gerangelo for Seattle. There's Pudge for Texas. Vlad Guerrero Sr. for the Angels. That is at a 250 right there. 16 at a 250. That is Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets. Aiden Miller on the Optichrome for the Phillies. Jack Leiter for Texas. That is Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez on the green sunburst on the bomb squad. That's Braylon Doty for Cleveland on the foil. Kyle Teal for the White Sox. John Smoltz. Johnny Bench. There's Coby Mayo for Baltimore on the foil. Catfish Hunter. Luis Angel Acuna to 250. That is 149 of 250. Yankee legend Lou Gehrig. Slade Caldwell. Behind Ryan Braun is our next auto. Brian Braun is 84 of 199. Our next auto goes to Detroit. That is Owen Hall. Owen Hall on the Optichrome auto. Box number 5 in the books. Box number 6. All right, box number 6 of 8. Here we go. Zebby Matthews, that is for Minnesota. Matt Shaw for the Cubs. Juan Marichal on the Sunburst for the Giants. Franklin Arias for Boston. We got Cam Caminiti for Atlanta on the auto. Cam Caminiti. This one is not numbered. Sorry, guys. That is Roger Clemens on the pink lasers to 79. 49 of 79. That is Ryan Clifford for the Mets on the acetate. Charlie Condon on the green Sunburst. Thomas Sagasi for St. Louis on the foil. Jim Rice on the Optichrome. Connor Norby for Miami. Gary Sheffield that went to the Yankees. That one is 88 of 99 for the Rockies. I'm sorry, for the Twins. Kalen Culpepper. Bryce Eldridge for the Giants. Jacob Loss for Toronto. Jackson Chourio green Sunburst for Milwaukee. Chase Burns for Cincinnati. Carson Williams for Tampa Bay. Lou Gehrig for the Yankees. Dalton Rushing for the Dodgers. That is Bucky Dent on the foil for the Yankees. On the green, we got Manny Ramirez. And on the pink, we got Manny Ramirez, 65 of 79. And on our auto, J.D. Dix. I keep wanting to call him DJ Dix. J.D. Dix for Arizona, not numbered. Will Wagner for Toronto. Nick Kurtz for Oakland. That is 188 out of 199. Griff O'Farrell for Baltimore. Christian Moore for the Angels. Kobe Mayo, Baltimore. Kirby Puckett. Foil, that is Johnny Mize for the New York Giants, San Francisco Giants. Pudge Rodriguez, green to 149. 137 of 149. There's Will Clark for the Texas Rangers. James Wood, that is for Washington. Foil, that one is Billy Amick for Minnesota. Billy Amick for the Twinkies. Dylan Head for Miami. Tony Olivia for Minnesota. That is Chase Dollander for Colorado. That is 171 out of 199 for the Mets. I'm sorry, Kevin Alcantara for the Cubs. I thought I saw Mets. I did. It's right here. Next card. That is Colin Hawk on the Optichrome. That is Kevin Alcantara for the Cubs. Paul Skeens. Seaver King, that one is 117 out of 199 for Washington. That is Cliff Lee for Philadelphia, blue. Blue, 122 out of 149. Jacob Wilson on the Optichrome. Alex Rodriguez for Texas. Kobe Mayo for Baltimore. On the Sunburst, Deion Sanders for Cincinnati. Augustin Ramirez for the Miami Marlins on the orange, 73 of 199. Johnny Bench. Did we get a second case hit? I think we did. That is Bobby Witt Jr. on the hit list for Kansas City. Bobby Witt Jr. hit list, Kansas City. That's Kumar Rocker to 250 for Texas. 18 out of 250. Roman Anthony. Malcolm Moore is our patch, not numbered. That was box number 6. Box number 7. Alright, this is a fat patch. Look at that thickie. That is going to be a thickie. Nice thickie patch. Alright, this is box number 7, my friends. Box number 7. Good luck. Box 7. Here we go. That is Jimmy Rollins on the Sunburst. Kyle Teal. Our first auto is here, and that's Brody Brecht. Brody Brecht, young prospect pitcher for the Rockies. That's Edgar Martinez for Seattle on the red to 99. 4 of 99. That is Charlie Condon on the acetate for Colorado. Aaron Judge. Nolan Ryan on the foil. That is Don Mattingly on the Optichrome. Jake Peavy, Jace Jung. That's Reggie Jackson for the Yankees. That one is numbered 1 out of 25. 1 of 25. Slade Caldwell for Arizona. Huston Kerstead for Baltimore. Jim Tomei, green sunburst for the Philadelphia Phillies. Here comes our monster patch. Is that a Black Pandora? It is. It is not numbered, but it is a super short print Black Pandora. Miguel Tejada, 131 out of 250. Jimmy Rollins Optichrome. Don Mattingly, Christian Campbell for the Red Sox. That is Jeff Bagwell on the Sunburst. Optichrome, Black Pandora, Optichrome goes to the St. Louis Cardinals. That is Yadi Molina. Yadi Molina on the Pandora Black. Those are almost like case hits. You get maybe 1 to 2 per case. All right, here we go. Jim Palmer. Greetings from San Diego, Leo Tavares. Alex Gordon. Brady Montgomery for the White Sox. That's Cole Young. Cole Young to 150 out of 199. 150 out of 199 for the Seattle Mariners. I watched him play the other night. Had a great base hit. Driving the only run, I think, of the game. Tyson Neighbors. And our patch goes to... How about the Oakland A's? And that is a piece of Billy Martin's glove. Billy Martin's glove for the Oakland A's, 85 of 99. That's pretty sick. Billy Martin, famous manager. Not so famous for his playing days, but that is part of his glove, you guys. There we go. Pretty sick. gonna have to go up a. Just didn't fit right. Let me get a bigger top loader. Much better. There we go. Billy Martin game used glove. All right, here we go. Starlin Caba for the Miami Marlins on the foil. Vance Honeycutt, Baltimore. Yadi Molina, Reggie Jackson. That is Jordan Lawler for the Diamondbacks. Tim Hudson on the green. The green is 126 out of 149. Auto for the Giants. That's Josur Gonzalez on the Optichrome auto. Jeff Bagwell. Jack Morris. Blue to 149. 66 of 149. That's Robbie Ventura. Robin Ventura, 66 of 149 for the White Sox. James Triantos for the Cubs. Jimmy Rollins. That is 23 out of 25 on the green. Elite Series. That is sick. Of Chase Dollander for Colorado. That is Craig Biggio on the foil. Andrew Walters for Cleveland. That is orange to 199, 2 of 199. Rhett Lauder for the Cincinnati Reds. Mike Piazza for the Mets. That's George Lombard on the foil for the Yankees. Kellen Lindsey for the Dodgers. Deion Sanders. Aaron Judge Unleashed. 96 of 99. That is J.D. Dix for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Luis Baez on the Optichrome for Houston. Juan Marichal. Cal Ripken. Box number 8. Box number 8. Box number 8. Here we go. Edgar Martinez. Jim Thome to 199. That is Bomb Squad 152 out of 199. You'll take one more hit, you got it, man. I'll try my best. There's Carson Bench for the Mets. That's purple. That is 47 of 99. That's your herd for the Yankees. You got it, bud. Cliff Lee for the Phillies. We got Leo Tavares for San Diego. That's Pablo Sandoval on the foil. Deion Sanders on the Optichrome. Bert Campaneris orange for the A's. 3 of 199. Josué Gonzalez for the Giants on the acetate. Paul Molitor on the milestone. Rhett Lauder on the Sunburst for the Reds. Connor Griffin for Pittsburgh. There is Malcolm Moore for Texas on the auto. Kumar Rocker, Charlie Condon. For the Diamondbacks, 19 out of 199, Jordan Lawler. Jordan Lawler for the Diamondbacks. Sebastian Walcott for Texas. And our next patch to 99 is Connor Griffin, 92 of 99 for the Pirates. Ryan Braun, a third case hit. That is Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets on the hit list. Sunburst of Alex Gordon, Kansas City. Robin Ventura for the White Sox. Green. 149 at 64 of 149. Mike Mussina That's Joe Mauer for Minnesota on the green Sunburst. For Oakland, that is Ricky Henderson, 34 out of 250. Rhett Lauder on the silver for Cincinnati, silver Optichrome. Chipper Jones, Unleashed of Carson Bench for the Mets. That's red to 250. Trey Morgan, 110 out of 250 for the Rays. Malcolm Moore for Texas. Jim Rice, Ozzie Smith. Leo Tavares on the foil for San Diego. Augustin Ramirez for Miami. That's Jacob Wilson for Oakland. Vlad Sr. for the Angels. That is another black Pandora. That is Nick York for the Pirates. Black Pandora. Not a rated rookie. That is Manny Ramirez helping the Boston Red Sox all break long. Nice hit for the Manny Ramirez Boston Red Sox. Bert Campaneris, that is for Oakland. Evan Carter, 54 out of 99. 54 of 99 on the Red Elite Series. That is for Texas. '57 of 149 for Seattle. Edgar Martinez. J.D. Dix for the Diamondbacks. Sammy Sosa. Seaver King for Washington on the Marvels. Miguel Tejada on the foil. Kyle Teal on the pink. Looks like we have a red auto. A red auto. We'll save the last auto of the break for last. Billy Martin. That is Spencer Jones for the Yankees Unleashed. I do my best. Here we go. Final pack. That is Tommy Troy for the Diamondbacks. Carter Holton for Atlanta. And our final auto of the break should be numbered, I think, to 49. It is red. Kyle Teal, pink. That's 14 of 79. And our final auto. Going to the Toronto Blue Jays, Jonathan Clase, 32 out of 49. 32 of 49 on the auto. All right, let me get everything clear out of the way. We'll do our recap. All right, here we go, guys. These are the 250 to 250. Trey Morgan, Tampa Bay. Ricky Henderson, Miguel Tejada, Kumar Rocker, Lou Gehrig, Luis Angel Acuna. That is for the Phillies, Mike Schmidt. We have Jim Rice, Griff O'Farrell, Craig Biggio, Prince Fielder. To 199. To 199. We have Jordan Lawler, Bert Campaneris, Jim Thome, Andrew Walters, Cole Young, Augustin Ramirez, Seaver King. That is Kevin Alcantara for the Cubs. Griff O'Farrell, Colin Hawk, Ryan Clifford, Nick Kurtz, David Ortiz, Durangelo Cinchte for the Mariners. Takoa Roby, St. Louis, Christian Campbell, Red Sox, Seaver King, Rintaro Sasaki, Cam Caminetti, Augustin Ramirez, Charlie Condon, Mike Schmidt. We got Jesus Made, Alex Rodriguez, and Blake Burke. To 149. Edgar Martinez, Robin Ventura again on the blue. We got Tim Hudson, Cliff Lee, Ivan Rodriguez, Ryan Braun, Bobby Miller, Willie Stargell, Terry Francona, Jairo Irati for the White Sox. We got Will Clark. We got Evan Carter. I keep wanting to say Ryan Carter. Evan Carter, Trey Morgan, Brody Brett, Pudge Rodriguez, Bobby Miller, Colt Keith. To 99. Evan Carter, Carson Benj, J.D. Dix, Edgar Martinez, Kalen Culpepper, Starlin Caba, Caleb Lomovita. That is Jake Bloss, Marcelo Mayer, and Ryan Clifford. To 79, we have Kyle Teal, Manny Ramirez, Roger Clemens, Tim Hudson, Carlos Beltran, and Manny Ramirez again. To 49, Carson Benj for the Mets. 39 black, we have John Smoltz, Black Lasers. On the green, we have Chase Dollander to 25. We have Reggie Jackson to 25 and Roger Clemens to 25. And Jairo Irati for the White Sox to 15. 3 out of 15. Our coming attractions are Chase Burns and Carson Williams. Our greetings, we got greetings from the Dodgers, Dalton Rushing, from the Pirates, Paul Skeens, and from the Padres, Leo Tavares. Our acetate cards, Josur Gonzalez, Charlie Condon, Ryan Clifford, Kendall George, Travis Bazana, Leo Tavares, Christian Campbell, and Brock Wilken. Our patches, not numbered, we have Malcolm Moore for Texas. We have Bill Madlock on the 4-color for Pittsburgh. We have Vance Honeycutt for Baltimore and Jace Jung for Detroit. /99 for Pittsburgh, Connor Griffin. Walker Jenke for Houston /99. And Rafael Palmeiro game used bat /99. That one is for Texas. Our autos not numbered. We got Malcolm Moore, Josur Gonzalez, Brody Brecht, J.D. Dix, Cam Caminetti, Owen Hall, Chase Dolander, Bryce Cunningham, Brock Wilken, Henry Bolt, Jet Williams. We had 2 redemptions. These are both not numbered. For Kansas City, David Shields, and for Cincinnati, Blake Dunn. We have this one /49, Jonathan Clase for Toronto. And then for Detroit, Bryce Rainier /49. We had 1 /35. That was George Lombard Jr. for the Yankees. We had 2 Black Pandoras, Manny Ramirez, Red Sox, Yadier Molina for the Cardinals. We had a sick patch /99. Piece of Billy Martin's glove, and they couldn't have used a better picture. That's awesome. And our 3 case hits. We had on the hit list for the New York Mets, Luisangel Acuna. On the hit list for the Boston Red Sox, Manny Ramirez. And on the hit list for the Kansas City Royals, Bobby Witt Jr. There's your break, my friends. I appreciate you all for being here. Hope you had a good break. Hope to have you here next time. Thursday night, we're running this back. It's already listed in the store. Have a great night, you guys. Peace.